Welcome to Comics Bazaar, the channel of comics commentary and arcana, and welcome to part 2 of my review and commentary on the 1982 crossover between the Uncanny X-Men and New Teen Titans. At the end of part 1, we had arrived at the midpoint of the crossover and the alliance now between Dark Phoenix and Darkseid. And we see here how Cyclops is in despair at the return of Jean Grey, apparently, and her alliance with Darkseid, who is intent on some particular evil plan, which he's going to explain in this very panel here in answer to Changeling's question. So he says, "I'm Darkseid, Lord of Apocalypse, eternal foe of the Lords of Light, who reside on New Genesis. I propose to see a second apocalypse born from the ashes of your earth. Before dawn, apocalypse pits, vast seething chasms filled with molten magma from your planetary core will appear on every continent. Cities will crumble. Civilizations as you know it will end overnight." So this is what he is all about. And we'll see here further details of his malevolent plan. Into that chaos, I will send my dog cavalry and my parademons to crush what resistance remains. The face of the world will change, mountains will be leveled, the landscape shattered by earthquakes and volcanoes. The seas themselves will boil away, life itself, even the potential for life, will end. Those of your species lucky enough, tough enough to survive, the most ruthless, the most cruel, will form the nucleus of my servitor class, the lowlies. When I'm done, a new apocalypse will grace the heavens. From it, I will extend my domain first to New Genesis, then to all the realms of reality, and then I really like this final bit, and ultimately to those of imagination as well. So a couple of points here. What he says here about those lucky enough, tough enough to survive will form the nucleus of his new servitor class. That really does point towards the creation of Apocalypse in the Marvel Universe and his addition as a major foe to the X-Men, which is coming in the next year or so. So there are, of course, visual similarities between Apocalypse and, or sorry, not Apocalypse, but there you go, that's interesting, between Darkseid and Apocalypse. And I really do see the seeding of the creation of that character here in this particular image and page. And also that point here at the end of his speech about how ultimately his domain would extend even to the realm of imagination. That is the angle on Darkseid that Grant Morrison will take in the future. But I really like it here in Claremont's script, and I've no doubt that Morrison read this particular crossover at the time it first came out. And great artwork, of course, with Walt Simonson really leaning into his Kirby influence, all those Kirby dots here in terms of the new Genesis planet here, or not New Genesis, but rather Apocalypse planet here in the background. It's very, very cool stuff. So, of course, you know, the new Teen Titans and the X-Men aren't going to be happy about that. And we get Cyborg's comment here, lousy murdering scum. And Phoenix says, Darkseid says, most impressive construct. Those bonds should render you inert, yet you still move. And Phoenix says, be thankful you are not Victor Stone. Out of hunger, I consumed a star out of rage. So yeah, threats on either side there, but Apocalypse is moving on, and he bids goodbye to the X-Men and Teen Titans. Farewell, we shall not meet again. And so his dog soldiers and parademons follow him and his consort Dark Phoenix through the boom tube to Earth. But this is the slip up that he makes in his overconfidence, in his pride, in his hubris. As soon as he's departed, the restraints on the Teen Titans and the X-Men disappear. So everybody's out of their restraints. And this is an interesting little moment with with Raven, where she says of Darkseid, and again, this is good stuff from Claremont, I felt no empathic resonances from him, she says to Cyborg. He holds himself under such absolute control that not even the slightest particle is allowed to escape. His soul is an emotional void, an empathic black hole, and his strength, his power is monstrous. I was terrified I would be sucked in. I'd be trapped forever. So that really is a portrait of Darkseid as the ultimate psychopath. The X-Men are free there. I really like that panel of them clambering out of their restraints. And it really is reminiscent, because of Terry Austin on inks, it's reminiscent of John Byrne's drawings of the X-Men. They're really, really on model with Byrne's drawings of them in Walter Simonson's pencils, but that's enhanced by the Terry Austin inks. We've got a nice full page image here of the X-Men and Teen Titans introducing themselves to each other, and on Cyclops' suggestion, forming an alliance. That is Robin's sentiments exactly as he said. But it's kind of amusing. We see the two teams, greeting each other, and a few of them are given thoughts about the others on the other side. But if you look carefully here at Kid Flash, he's facing and looking at nobody there in terms of the perspective. So that is amusing. And Kid Flash doesn't really feature too much. Claremont doesn't seem to be very interested in him in the script. And there is just one interesting little moment with him over here that I'll get to in a minute. We also have Kitty Pryde taking a fancy to Garfield Logan, aka Changeling. On the other side, she thinks to herself, gee, the green guy looks about my age, he's kind of cute too. And here, interesting little thought balloons from Raven, where she comments on Storm. There is in Storm an inner serenity, a beauty and nobility of the spirit that reminds me of Azar, yet her companion Wolverine possesses a capacity for violence greater even than Coriander's. Around him I must be forever on my guard, lest his inner fury strike me down. So it became clear to me reading through this crossover which characters of the new Teen Titans that Claremont found interesting, and naturally enough, the two most interesting characters for him are Starfire and Raven, the female characters. He also likes writing Changeling, I think, and he's not at all interested in Robin, Cyborg, Donna Troy, or Kid Flash. Not at all interested in those characters, really. And I like the little thought balloon here from Wolverine 2. I spooked the bird lady. I wonder why. I don't like this. Working with kids ain't my style. Well, Wolverine would, in the next decade, work with many kids, including Kitty Pryde, and then Jubilee, as if I had a choice, he says. And this is a nice bit. So Wolverine, with those enhanced sense perceptions, recognizes that the air is getting thinner. Cyborg 2 realizes that with all his computer systems. He's right, we're losing atmosphere, he says. I figure we've got about an hour left. So he whips up this little radar that picks up that there is something moving off to the left real close to, and my sensors indicate it's a functioning mechanism. So they manage to, probably with Cyborg's help and also the thrust produced by Starfire's starbolts and Cyclops' optic blasts, they manage to move that asteroid towards the object, which turns out to be, though they don't know it, Metron's Mobius chair. So Cyborg grabs it there, and then they're faced with the puzzle of what on earth it is and how does it work. So Cyborg says, I'm sorry, Prof, I've done my best, but I haven't got a clue how to make this baby work. So we've got more little interaction there between the various characters, including Kitty flirting a little bit with Changeling. And then here's the interesting bit with Kid Flash. Your steel pals are Russian, he says to Storm, and her response is a little bit. There's a little bit of, how will I express this? A little bit of emotion in it. She says, and I'm an African, Kid Flash. Is that important? I was just wondering, what's Claremont up to there? You know, he's kind of insinuating that Kid Flash is maybe a little bit narrow-minded, and that's about as much as we get from him regarding Kid Flash's characterization. Now, they're still trying to figure out how the Mobius chair works. They don't know that it's Metron's chair, and the two teenagers are sitting on it and again continuing to flirt. And Kitty says, "I wish it was home." And then the chair disappears, and then it's back. And basically, when Kitty explains that all she did was wish, the professor figures out, of course, the chair is controlled telepathically by thought. And Robin concurs, you know, like those detective skills that he's picked up from working with Batman. It appears so, Professor, but how are we all going to fit on that chair? So, a whispered conference between Kitty and Changeling follows, and Changeling transforms into this big dragon, and he's going to carry the chair in his talons, and everybody's going to climb aboard him. So it's a pretty good idea that they've come up with, or rather Claremont's come up with. And Changeling says he feels ridiculous, but Kitty says, "You look great, trust me." Meanwhile, jealous Colossus thinks to himself, Kitty had Changeling transform into Lockheed the Dragon. I thought that was our special character, our secret. She seems very attracted to Changeling. I did not think that would upset me so. And then he exclaims in Russian aloud, "Peter Nikolaevich, you're acting like a fool," which gets Starfire's attention. And so she's all curious and filled with wonder about different languages, a new language I can learn, and she smacks him with a snog. And I like this bit too. Nightcrawler instantly realizes, if she's interested in other languages than English, Fraulein, sprechen Sie Deutsch? So that's pretty good. And Kitty jealous too, the hussy, and Peter's enjoying it too, she thinks to herself. And Robin explains to Professor X, "Sorry about this, sir. Starfire absorbs languages through physical contact. Sometimes she gets carried away." But the professor, all business, says the sooner we're all carried away from here, Robin, the better. So now everybody's aboard Changeling, and as I said, he's got the Mobius chair between his talons there. And this is a funny little bit as well. Okay, so imagine they've got an hour of oxygen left, of atmosphere left on the asteroid. It's ticking down. They're at the edge of the known universe, at the wall, and they found this magical wish chair, and also the Earth is going to be destroyed and turned into a new apocalypse by Darkseid and Dark Phoenix. And just at this point, Wonder Girl asks Cyclops, "Is something the matter?" There's something about that innocuous question that just makes me laugh. But anyway, it's a cue for him to think to himself here, "Jean earned her peace, Darkseid. Whether your creature is truly her or some arcane facsimile is irrelevant. You had no right to resurrect Phoenix or to violate us in the process." And you could leave it at that, but Cyclops is so serious that his next thought is, "If it takes eternity, Darkseid, I'll find you. And when I do, for what you've done this night, you'll pay." Darkseid is a god, and Cyclops is, just a man. Okay, he's got his optic blast, but how on earth does he mean to fulfill that vow of his? So they move away from the wall there. It's a very cool image of the wall as well. And off they go to New York City. That's a great full page image of Changeling there flying over New York City with all the various X-Men and Teen Titans on board. And I always do like to check and see how accurate is the representation of New York. And this is very accurate. And I think Walter Simonson was looking at photo reference for this. We've got the Chrysler building there, very well drawn. And we've even got the Pan American building there, that huge, big, blocky building. So this is quite an accurate representation. And then we get a look downtown towards the Twin Towers. And I think that would be, if I'm not mistaken, that would be, what would it be? Would it be Broadway going down to the Twin Towers there? So very nicely done, very impressive work on this page. So they're getting down to business. The professor says they need to get uptown. Phoenix possesses a unique psionic matrix. Evidently, she believes me dead. She's not bothering to shield her mind. That psychic trail should lead us to her and Darkseid. So then the scene switches to Central Park, and this is one of Claremont's tropes, to give a description of a place and give you and give me like almost, not almost, but the desire to actually go to the place. And in this case, it's Central Park, but it's Central Park in the summertime. Every summer, the New York Philharmonic tours the city, giving free open-air concerts. Each season opens here on the Great Lawn, the performance culminating in Tchaikovsky's 1812 Overture, complete with an accompanying fireworks display, witnessed tonight by an audience of well over 500,000 people. So does that still happen? Does that still go on? In 2024, was there the same free open-air concerts by the New York Philharmonic? Be interesting to know the answer to that one. But also, this setup actually feeds in to the conclusion of the story as well. And that's how tightly plotted is this story by Claremont, which is impressive. We get this little moment between Starfire and Wolverine. You're smiling, Wolverine, what's so funny? And Wolverine says, nothing, everything. And he's right, I'm a scrapper, Starfire. I love a good fight, and this one looks to be one of the best. I don't mind dying, just so I get a fair shot at Darkseid first. And again, that's hilarious, like Wolverine going up against a god. So Raven picks up an empathic void. So the psychopath, the archetypal psychopath that Grant Morrison called the hole in things, Darkseid, is below us. But we dare not attack all those innocent people in the park. And the professor is very hard-nosed about it. He says, we've no alternative, Raven. We dare not wait this once. We do not have the luxury of choosing between good and evil, but between the lesser of two evils. The world, the universe, the future are at stake, child. If these people and we ourselves must perish to save them, then so be it. So the Mobius chair does its job, and they're going to appear suddenly far underground. So they're way underneath Central Park, deep in the Earth's, beneath the Earth's crust, down towards, within the mantle area. And so now they're trying to confer in terms of what Darkseid's plan would be. So Robin here says, Darkseid's plan requires a mechanism. We're no match for him and Phoenix, but if we destroy his device, that should buy enough time to summon every superhero on Earth. And we get a nice little character moment here with Storm because of what Deathstroke did to her earlier, bringing back her childhood terrors. And when Scott asks her if she's okay, she says, no, I'm terrified, but I'll cope, she says. And I really like this from Cyclops. That's the spirit. So that's good stuff. And then we've got Changeling and Wolverine trying to catch the scent of Darkseid and the others. And we've got a nice little moment here that I guess like fans would have been thinking about, the coincidence of these two sharing the same surname. And Claremont draws it out, where Changeling says to Wolverine, Kitty says your name's Logan, so's mine, think we're related. Kitty talks too flaming much, responds Wolverine, hush up boy, we're getting close. So Wolverine's got no time for that particular conjecture. And so it's turnabout here where Deathstroke gets the drop now on Wolverine, balancing the scales from earlier in the story. Now we're even, he says, and now we're into the action. We're into a big fight. We've got the arrival of Darkseid's dog soldiers and parademons. These are a couple of very Kirby-esque panels here. Terminator's cadre has the advantage of surprise, but it doesn't do them much good. So they're not really equal to the powers, the combined powers, and especially the heavy hitters of the new Teen Titans like Starfire and the X-Men like Cyclops there and Storm. So Cyclops agrees with Robin that they can't stay there. So Cyclops tells the professor, phase shift your chair out of here. Cyborg, clear some room, which Cyborg does. I'll blast as an escape route to the lower levels. Oh, Cyborg, this is a nice little character moment as well. Cyborg says, my white sound generator has him on a run, one eye. Now what? I'll blast us an escape route to the lower levels. And Cyborg, we all have names. I'd prefer it if you use them. So nice little contrast between, proper slim Summers and more street level hero like Cyborg there. And Storm brings down the roof on the parademons, but as Deathstroke notes in his thought balloons, she doesn't kill them. Instead, she simply traps them. But Deathstroke, with his enhanced abilities, is able to dodge the tumbling boulders and decides he's going to go alert Darkseid as to the impending arrival of the X-Men and Teen Titans. So here they emerge on this ledge over this big pit, and exactly as Robin surmised, Darkseid is going to use a device in order to fulfill his plan. And this is us getting a look at it here. It looks pretty cool. Nice top-down angle on it as well. And of course, because Darkseid is such a narcissist, he has his own visage sculpted into the mechanism itself. And here one of his parademons says, Darkseid, it looks like it's the parademon that's saying it, but actually it is Phoenix who says this. Darkseid, my love, we have visitors. Yeah, something's gone wrong there in terms of the coherence between the art. Obviously, Walter Simonson was of the view that this parademon was going to say something, and instead Claremont wanted it to be Phoenix who spoke. And Phoenix is powering up this mechanism, the X-Men and the Teen Titans, she exclaims. And Darkseid is impressed. I stranded them on the far side of the universe. However did they manage to survive, much less return? I grossly underestimated their abilities. They may indeed prove worthy foes after all. Like I said, he's impressed. So Deathstroke arrives, and of course, the news he brings is already known to Darkseid. And now we get a rematch between Wolverine and Deathstroke. And Wolverine's impressed at how fast Deathstroke is. And now we've got Starfire taking getting payback for the destruction of Debari, the 5 million people that Dark Phoenix killed by virtue of taking the energy from their sun. And Dark Phoenix tells Starfire that she's foolish because stellar energy sustains me. Your star bolts, pathetic as they are, merely make me stronger. So, of course, Dark Phoenix is an incredibly dangerous and powerful foe. And the X-Men were beaten by her before. So how on earth are they going to beat her now? Nightcrawler begs her to stop. And Dark Phoenix says, I know who and what I am, Nightcrawler, and it is not Jean Grey. So now Raven attacks with her soul self, determined to end Dark Phoenix's rage. But something unexpected happens, and Dark Phoenix explains, you are tainted by an evil that rivals my own. You cannot hold me, Raven. We are too much alike, we could almost be sisters. And that's because of Raven's parentage. Her father is a demon, so she does indeed have a dark side like Dark Phoenix. And Darkseid steps in. He wants Phoenix to stop. The moment is at hand to strike. So Phoenix sends a blast into the mechanism. Behold, my dread and loving lord, she says, the Hell Pit is born. And that is what he needed her for. So now it would appear it's too late. That burst of energy, what do you think it means? Asked Kid Flash of Wonder Girl. I think I know, Wally. And Athena, give me strength. I pray I'm wrong. But Darkseid explains, "You are not Amazon. Your world is doomed. In a matter of minutes, the Phoenix Bolt will strike the Earth's core and the transformation will become irreversible." And we see a nice big diagram here on screen or on the wall that shows exactly his plan. The Psi Bolt coming there, and then all of these holes, hell pits emerging around the globe on all the different continents. So Darkseid says, "Yield, X-Men, Teen Titans. Your cause is lost. Why waste your lives in a futile gesture? Join me, live, prosper. Darkseid is generous to those who serve him well." Of course, no one's going to take him up on that offer. So now we've got Kitty and Changeling here messing up the mechanism. And nearby, the professor finds Raven. And she's on the ground and in despair, saying, "Phoenix touched a resonant chord in that part of me bound by birth and heritage to my demonic father, Trigon. I could not remove her evil. Instead, I almost became evil myself. Azar, forgive me. She spoke the truth. We are kindred spirits." And of course, that's the reason why Claremont is really interested in this character, because she's exactly the kind of character with that duality that he loves to write. So Phoenix here says, the X-Titans, I like that kind of little neologism combining a name for the two teams combined. The X-Titans don't appear to be interested in surrendering Darkseid, she says. I'm so glad. So she's enjoying the mayhem. That's a nice shot there of Kitty and Changeling being knocked out of the mechanism, Darkseid's mechanism that they're wrecking. And Darkseid saying, "The children, your courage and audacity do you credit. But since you've chosen to fight as adults, you may suffer their fate." And now we have Phoenix attacked by Professor X and Raven. So she says, "The Titans came into being because of me. If anyone is here by choice, by design, if anyone is responsible for their lives, it is I." And then in the third person narration, the attack is devastating because it uses the one weapon to which Dark Phoenix is vulnerable, an emotion, love. It's very, very Claremont, and it calls back to the climax of the Dark Phoenix saga and all of the talk of the Watchers about how Jean Grey essentially was a being who came into being through love, and the meaning of whose life was love. And we're getting a reiteration of that theme here in this particular story as well. But I really like the art here, the energy and the dynamism of this particular panel. Simonson's so good at that. And I love the detail of the Phoenix Firebird being shot in the back too, and kind of like being knocked backwards by virtue of that bolt from Raven. That's really good in the art. And then the third person narration continues and says, "Her own abilities heightened by Xavier's side powers, Raven drains Phoenix of rage and hatred and lust, filling that emotional void in turn with the love felt by Xavier and all the X-Men for Jean Grey. Phoenix's reaction is a shriek torn from the pit of her soul." And it does not go unheard. So you see Darkseid turning there, and he's surprised. "Phoenix," he asks. And in the meantime, while his back is turned, literally turned, Robin grabs Kitty Pryde and Changeling and takes them out of harm's way in a jiffy, as he whispers to them. The fight is ongoing between Wolverine and Deathstroke, and then Cyclops, of course, because Wolverine's part of a team. Cyclops intervenes to help Wolverine, and he thinks to himself, "What's Charles doing to Phoenix? She sounds like she's in agony. I know she's a creation of Darkseid, that she can't be Jean, yet I feel her pain as I would Jean's. Evil as Phoenix is, I can't bear to see her hurt. The Psi War rages. Xavier torn and tormented by memories of what was, thoughts of what might have been." And this is a call back to the Psi War in Uncanny X-Men 136. But surprisingly, instead of weakening him, his grief only strengthens his resolve. Then Phoenix begins discorporating. So Raven says, "This corporation, evil one, your form is returning to the eternal cosmos whence it came." So love is defeating the hatred of Dark Phoenix. Robin hears the professor's voice in his head. Only Dark Phoenix, with her insatiable desire for survival at any cost, could maintain the degree of concentration necessary to exist on our plane of reality. The instant that belief was shaken, even slightly, her very existence began to unravel. So Robin gets an idea. Phoenix, you need power to sustain yourself. Absorb the Phoenix bolt you shot into the earth. So now the turnabout is coming. Yes, she exclaims, that will save me. Darkseid, of course, upset. No, ultimate victory is within my grasp. Even you will not be permitted to thwart me. But this is where Kid Flash intervenes, knocking into Darkseid. Now Darkseid is about to unleash his deadliest weapon, the Omega effect, which he says will expunge everyone as if you'd never been. But Starfire counters his Omega effect I-beams and knocks them back into his own head. So that's pretty cool. Omega effect backfired. The pain, he exclaims. Titans, X-Men, you'll pay for this before I'm done. You will beg for death. But in the meantime, we go back to Phoenix and what's going on there. She's soaring into position above the nascent hell pit. Professor X shouts out, "Everyone take cover," and thinks, "Raven and I forged a mind link with Dark Phoenix. I must not allow it to be broken or allow her a moment's respite. Phoenix is vulnerable. If I keep hammering at her, she may well break." So this is a very cool panel. An interesting art effect here in Terry Austin's inks. Looks like he was using a dry brush here for some of these force lines. And then in the narration, she glows star bright as she draws her energy back into her. And for an instant, Xavier sees her as she was truly meant to be, a goddess of life, pure, transcendent, indescribably beautiful. He hears the symphony of power that tempted Jean Grey to ultimate heights and depths. He weeps, he mourns, but he does not relent. So more great images of Dark Phoenix here in the panels on this particular page. Her power is restored to her. And Cyclops says, "Professor, Raven, the hell pit's sealed. Robin's ploy bought the time we needed. So start calling for help fast." And this would be exactly the time to bring in the Avengers, the Fantastic Four, the Justice League, the real heavy hitters to take her on. But there's a problem for Dark Phoenix. It wasn't enough. She's fading. She can't stop it herself. She doesn't want to die. And Darkseid says, "And you shall not. There's a way to preserve both life and power. Take a physical form through which your energies can be focused." So, yes, she says, but who? And Cyclops is right in view there, and he knows that she's going to pick him. "Scatter people," he says, "get away from me now." And she exactly takes on his physical form. "Come, my once and former love, embrace your destiny." It's a great, powerful image there in Simonson's drawing. And here she is. So we get this combination of Cyclops and Phoenix, and we can see the Phoenix symbol showing up on his chest. And she says, "I live, I breathe, I feel." And then in Cyclops' voice, "I remember. No, the memories, the emotions, I cannot bear them. They're not Dark Phoenix. I'm power, I'm the chaos. But you're inside my head, a part of me. Your original creation sprang from love," says Cyclops in his voice. "Out of love, you sacrificed your life to save the universe. Deny that, and you deny your true self." So we get these reaction shots from everybody else. They can't do anything about what's going to happen next. And Dark Phoenix says through Cyclops, "Accept it, and I'm doomed. It would have been better had I remained as I was, to have this illusion, this brief taste of life, only to see it snatched away, to be condemned once more to eternal oblivion." And she pulls off Cyclops' ruby quartz visor and shouts out Darkseid's name. "You're responsible. You'll pay the price." This is a really powerful page. Just look at how ferocious the Phoenix Firebird there looks. But remember, or note rather, the Phoenix Firebird here is appearing in Cyclops' optic blast that's powered by Dark Phoenix's rage. And just look at the body language on Darkseid. He's just standing there accepting what's coming at him with his hands behind his back. And then we get this massive explosion. Wow, says Kitty. They're both gone, but where? Asks Storm. And somehow everybody survives that big explosion as well. And remember, the concert, the Philharmonic Orchestra concert in Central Park, it's still happening on the surface. And those fireworks that Claremont mentioned in the narration, the crowd takes the emergence of the Phoenix Firebird with Darkseid in her talons as part of the fireworks display. That's such tight plotting, so well done, and they applaud. All of the crowd applaud. And again, this is typical Claremont here, where we've got all of the overlapping exclamations of the crowd, their delight at the display. And then on this page, we're up at the cosmic level again. The distance from Earth to the wall is so great it cannot be imagined. Yet the Phoenix crosses it in the blink of an eye, following the trail of energy that is her lifeline back to its source, in a mad, desperate attempt to rejuvenate herself, aware even as she does that, she is too late. She's become too human to remain a goddess, while remaining too much a goddess to live as a human being. That paradox is her downfall and her glory, and she's still got Darkseid there in her talons. So what's going to become of him? The concert over, an awed and wonderstruck audience reluctantly drifts out of the park, homeward bound, those heading for the west side of Manhattan passing by Belvedere Castle. And atop the castle are the X-Men and Teen Titans. And they're basically just wrapping up everything that they've experienced, with a little philosophizing from Nightcrawler there. Every sentient being is an amalgam of positive and negative, he says to Raven. Good and evil, our humanity derives from the balance struck between them. But Wolverine says, can the philosophy elf, and let's ground some brew, saving the universe's thirsty work. And there's one little point that derives from the first part of the storyline, and Storm makes that point to Cyclops. Scott, one thing puzzles me. If Phoenix was Darkseid's creation, if she had no conscious existence prior to that awful moment at the wall, then who, what appeared to us and to the Greys to warn us? So there's an implication that Jean's soul was what reached out to them, and that Jean's immortal soul is alive beyond the wall and was able to communicate with them. And then we have our epilogue at the wall once more. The Titans that are incorporated into the wall, creating this barrier between our universe and whatever the source beyond the wall. And what happens is the Mobius chair materializes on an asteroid, and Metron's back. The wheel turns, he says. So we're bookending this crossover, which began at the wall and which is concluding at the wall. The wall is sealed. The balance restored. All is as it was, with one exception. All things are thus as they should be, he says. My thanks, old friend, for revealing the answer to yet another mystery of the source. So Metron went to the other side and has learned the mystery of the source. But the old friend he's addressing, well, who is it? What became of Darkseid? Let's turn the page. Now Darkseid is one of those Titans incorporated into the wall. Farewell, says Metron. That's a great conclusion. And again, once again, you just see Terry Austin enjoying inking those craggy granite features of Darkseid's. It's so well done. Looks great to me. Really cool stuff. What a great crossover between the Uncanny X-Men and the new Teen Titans. And here at the end, we've got a little house ad from DC Comics. DC's on the move, and they're advertising a number of titles, including Camelot 3000. That's a pretty weird one, featuring King Arthur and his knights in a sci-fi setting by Mike W. Barr, Brian Bolland, and Bruce Patterson. Orion, Lord of Atlantis. A new Supergirl book, Black Hawk. Kind of strange titles there to be advertising for readers. Now, a question that people might have is, well, that was Marvel's part of the crossover between the Uncanny X-Men and the new Teen Titans, but what of DC's? And there was a DC created sequel planned, and the creative team was to have been the regular creators on New Teen Titans, that is Marv Wolfman and George Perez, and it was to have come out in Christmas of 1983. And there even was a story conference, a one-day story conference between Chris Claremont and Marv Wolfman, where Claremont shared with Wolfman his plans for the next year of Uncanny X-Men stories, so that there would be a continuity fit between the crossover special and what was going on in the X-Men. And Wolfman had decided what the chief villains were going to be. They were going to be Brother Blood and the Hellfire Club. And but what happened to scuttle the whole thing was editorial squabbling between Marvel and DC Comics, not regarding the Teen Titans Uncanny X-Men sequel, but the JLA Avengers crossover that was to come out in 1984, and that George Perez was drawing, and that he had drawn a substantial portion of. And that project was scuttled by the squabbling between Marvel and DC. And basically at that point, George Perez was so annoyed and so angry that he pulled out of the X-Men Teen Titans sequel. And so that was the end of any crossovers between DC and Marvel Comics for more than a decade, until the Batman Lake of Fire crossover between Punisher and the Azrael Batman in 1994. So there you go, what might have been. Well, I do hope that you enjoyed this review and commentary in two parts on the Uncanny X-Men and the new Teen Titans. Let me know your thoughts on this second part, the climax and denouement of the storyline, in the comment section to the video. If you enjoyed my review and commentary, please like the video on YouTube. It really does help the channel. And if you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel and stay tuned for more content like this.